everybody.
Hey.
And welcome back to the Cousins to Disney YouTube channel. I'm Misty.
I'm Tammy.
And today we are going to be talking about the perks of staying on a Walt Disney property at the Walt Disney World Resort. I've had actually a lot of my friends and kind of coworkers ask me about whether or not it's worth it to stay on the Walt Disney properties, and my resounding answer is yes, because that's all I've known. However, Tammy here has done both. She has both stayed on property and off. And what was your experience?
Well, first of all, the first time we went to Disney, we didn't stay on property, we stayed off property, and we came home from the happiest place on earth, lice. So, just for that, I'm gonna go with stay on property. But I realize that's not going to be everyone's experience when they go
Probably not.
Don't stay on property. I would say just for the time saved, just for the fact that you don't have to get up earlier than you want to and get in your car and drive and park and then go wait at the parking for the cute little trolley to come along, and get on the trolley and go, and it's just all the transfer, just all the waiting and standing in lines, just for that time that you save, it is totally worth staying on property. Mm-hmm. And then doing the opposite at night. And again, I realize this isn't going to be everyone's experience, but when it's your first night and you're freaking exhausted because you flew in really late the night before and then you got up earlier to get there so you could get there and get through all that, you know, waiting and tramming and all of that stuff and still be there right when the park opens in the morning. You get out there after doing the reverse at the end of the night and you're tired and you're exhausted and you realize we have a rental car. I don't remember what it looks like. That is a fun way to spend the end of your evening. And your kids just love it. They love it so much. Yes. And staying on site, you don't have to do any, I mean, you still have to wait for the bus, you know, but it's just so much simpler. And it's really nice and convenient to have all of your stuff sit back to your hotel for you that you're buying, so you don't have to carry it around. And I know you can still just have stuff waiting for you at the front of the park.
Right.
But it's still just, it's so much easier just having it sent back to your hotel. And it's, you know, I mean, again, silly things, but it's like the silly little things I think that make it worth it. Like you get the cute little, you know, the little Disney, the Mickey shampoo and conditioner that you get to bring back.
Cute. I still have those.
Cute. Yeah,
I kept it.
Yeah. And like the kids loved that, like Alexia and Chloe had like their special blankets that they brought and their like little love animals, and they like the cleaning crew that came in every day folded them in cute ways and, you know, like posed them in cute positions, and that's just adorable.
So cute.
But yeah, the headache of the drive from wherever you're staying to the park and the parking, mm-hmm. and just all of it, it's just to us, it was worth the money that we paid, like the difference in paying for the convenience and not having the hassle. And when we added it up, it really wasn't that much more.
No. To
stay on site. I mean, it really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, to me, one of the biggest perks in my mind is the transportation, because you take the Mickey's Magical Express or whatever it's called.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
From the Orlando airport directly to Walt Disney World, and they also handle your luggage. So if you're staying like we did, we stayed for a whole week. I needed to check a bag because I can only do so many days with carry-on. And so when you check a bag, they actually, as long as you land, I think before 10 p.m., they will handle your bags for you, and it magically appears in your room the next morning.
It's pretty awesome.
And then you just take this magical bus from the airport, and it takes you directly to your hotel.
And the driver of the bus is super friendly and
super nice. And you watch these cute like little Disney videos on the way there. They give you
facts and trivia.
Yes, yeah. And it's just so much fun. And you know, when we started planning it, you know, my first thing was like, I want to stay on property because this is my first trip to Walt Disney World. I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do...
And we were glad she wanted to stay on property because I'd already said after the last time I'm not doing that again. Because when you fly in and you're not staying on property, you have to deal with renting the car, and we'd already reserved a rental, but when we got there, they were going to give us a car that wasn't going to be, like, it wouldn't have... They were giving us a smaller car that wouldn't have had seated, you know, we needed 2 adults and 3 kids in it, and I think they were trying to give us a 4-seater.
Oh, no.
And we were like, that's not what we...
Yeah.
And they were really super nice and friendly about it, but it took longer, so we were there.
Right, and then you have to
so we didn't get to
figure
the
out
hotel until even later.
You have to drive around Orlando when you've never been there before. You know, you have to figure that out. Plus, it's just the transportation. Plus, when you stay on site, you get the extra magic hours, which is nice
depending
on which park it is.
John and Alexia fully took full advantage of that.
They took advantage of that. I think the other 3 parks, it stays open an hour later. Or 2 hours later. Animal Kingdom, I think, is the only one that just opens up an hour earlier. Yeah. But the nice thing, too, is that, you know, when we were researching this trip, and even when I was researching a potential other trip that I was going to do with friends, is, you know, we stayed at what was called a moderate resort, which was the Caribbean Beach, which means it's not fancy like, you know, the Grand Floridian or the Contemporary or the Polynesian, but, you know, I really want to stay at one of those 3. Actually,
I want to say the Contemporary.
Contemporary or the Polynesian.
Yeah, because when the kids were younger, we watched the video that talks about
how
the Contemporary was built and everything, so ever since we watched
the
that,
Polynesian, though, also looks fun because you have breakfast with, like, Stitch and Chip and Dale, and, like, you can get Dole Whips on demand.
I just want to have breakfast with Stitch.
I mean, you could take the monorail over there. But I want to stay at those ones at some point. But the moderate resorts are good, too, because, you know, they're not super expensive. I think we paid less than $200 a night.
I don't even remember.
When we went.
No, if we had stayed at, like, the Polynesian or the Contemporary or one of those, it would have been a significant.
I mean, those ones
we did look at that first.
We are looking at, like, we're talking about, like, between $300 to $700 a night for those ones.
I mean, there is, you do pay for that.
But that
extra, even more convenience.
Yes,
being at the Contemporary.
At the Contemporary is, you know,
on the monorail.
The Caribbean Beach was nice. We didn't really take advantage of, like, any of the things that the hotels offer. We didn't have
do the pool or anything like that.
I was supposed to have a pool day. Someone didn't check the Legoland schedule.
We're not getting into that. It's too painful. And it makes hostility rise up in us. So.
The nice thing that I liked, in theory, about the Caribbean Beach was that each, like, little area had its own pool, and then there was a big pool. They do movie nights, so you can, like, go down to, like, the main area and watch a Disney movie if you wanted to. Just the overall convenience of everything, you know, having stuff sent to the hotel was great. The Magic Hours, even though it was a bus system, once we got the bus system figured out, it was great because also where our particular hotel room was at was literally right across from where the bus station was. So we didn't even have to walk.
We were super close to the bus stop.
You know, go to certain lengths to get there. And, you know, it was just, I find that I recommend to everybody, if you're going to Disney World, spend a little bit of extra money and stay on property. But now they even have the value resorts. You know, they have the art, they have the Pop Century, they have the Pop Sports, they have the Pop Music. Those ones are less, sometimes they're less than $100 a night. Yeah. And so if you're going, if it's just maybe you and some friends, you can easily stay at one of those. If it's if you have a lot of little kids and you just don't want to spend, you know, the money for the moderate resorts, the value ones are still great. They're a little further out from where the main park areas are, but because they offer free transportation, it's really not going to be that big of an inconvenience to stay there. And I was even looking at it, and the Pop Century Resort actually looks pretty fun, and so does the Art of Animation. The Art of Animation has, like, Lion King themed rooms and Little Mermaid themed rooms.
We have friends who stayed at the one with the sports themed rooms.
Oh, that's probably Pop Sports.
Yeah.
That's by the ESPN zone. Yeah. So.
And I think the biggest thing is when you're staying on site is at the end of the day when you go home and everything's closed is everyone's leaving at the same time. It's not like when people arrive staggered in the morning, but at night, I mean, pretty much everyone is leaving at the same time. And you might have to wait a couple
rounds for the bus.
But speaking from experience, that's going to be the case if you have to go to your car in the parking lot and drive back to your
But the nice
hotel,
thing is even if we had to wait like an extra 15 minutes for a turn on the bus, it's better than having to stand like the traffic just to get out of the parking structure is probably going to be 10 times worse.
Yeah, in the parking lots, yeah.
So, I mean, I know a lot of people that, you know, I do get a lot of questions about should we stay on property, and my answer is always 100% yes.
Yeah, do it.
Spend a little bit of extra money. You know, you don't have to get a rental car. You don't have to spend the amount. I mean, even if you don't get a rental car, the amount of money you'd spend on Lyft, because even if you stay in like the greater Orlando area, it's still going to be about a 20-25 minute drive from the greater Orlando area to Disney World proper.
Yeah. And then traffic, because
traffic.
It's a busy area. There's a lot of traffic.
And the nice thing is when you're on the bus, they have their own special lanes, and so you don't even have to worry about that traffic.
Yep.
And because you're a resort guest, if the park is full, it doesn't actually go to resort guests. Resort guests are not turned away.
Yeah.
So there's just lots of little perks, just lots of little things that, you know, kind of go into making your Disney experience a little bit better when you stay on property.
Yeah. So stay on property.
Stay on property. I am curious to see, though, because I'm trying to plan a trip to Disneyland, and I'm trying to see if it's worth it to stay on property there.
I have no experience there.
Yeah. I mean, every time I went to Disneyland, it was for a day, so we never really stayed anywhere near it.
Right.
But they don't have as many hotel options, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have, like, 3 Disney-owned hotels, and then everything else is, like, a Disney-recommended hotel. So we'll see.
Okay.
I'll be interested to see what the differences of staying on property between Disneyland and Disney World are. So, but, you know, stay on property. So.
And have fun.
Yes. Like this video and subscribe to our channel before you leave. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Cousins Who Disney, and on Twitter at Cousins Disney XO. And until next time, guys, bye!
Bye!